Welcome back to Mostly Growth, the #1 podcast in product monetization. CJ, I hear you're using more and more AI these days.
I use it every day, but like what I didn't expect was for my realtor to start using it.
Did they sell your house fully with AI?
I sold it to a former Anthropic employee for their shares, actually. That would be
I
sick.
don't think there's that many Anthropic employees that want a house in Naples, Florida.
So I keep getting this AI agent that keeps calling my phone. It actually says, "This is the virtual assistant for we know that you told her you were thinking about selling your house at some point soon." It's doing it every day. And like on one hand, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is AI on Main Street. But on the other hand, I'm thinking like this is the most fucking annoying thing ever. And like a terrible use of AI in terms of like making me want to work with you. That like you think that our relationship is at a point. I met you in one open house that you can just auto call me every day.
I've not encountered this with a realtor, but I will say there are some tech companies that are using these AI SDRs. What I found is the voice agents that are most effective are doing like the inbound SDR stuff. So if you click contact sales, you'd usually have to wait for like a person to reach out to you, maybe like in a day or 2 days. At that point, you forgot that you even clicked that button. But AI SDRs can respond like within 2 minutes, qualify you on the call, get all the information needed, schedule time on the calendar, and then share all that context with the AE. And so I do think that's a really smart use of AI SDRs. But this like reaching out every day until you actually get so fed up you sell your house, it's a bit of a blunder.
I agree in your example in theory though, Kyle, but like what stopped me from hanging up the second I realized that it's not an actual person? How are you going to get that info to qualify me?
I mean, you click contact sales. So you seemingly want to get to an AE. I'm going to help you schedule time with the AE, right? So it's giving you what you want. And then honestly, there's one that I am featuring in my newsletter that I don't want to reveal just yet, but I listened to some call examples. It's got a personality. It's like a little bit funny. It makes a joke out of disclosing that it's AI and talks about how its overlords are like monitoring how it performs so it doesn't go off the rails. Like they really made it fun. And I think there's a curiosity factor where, like, at least listening to this call, people are kind of intrigued to talk to AI.
I won't force people to listen to my story again because I went through it in my newsletter and on a prior podcast, but TLDR is that my local pizza shop is using AI. What I wanted to bring up though is that the voice is the owner's daughter.
Oh, they clone the voice. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she's like going off to college and stuff. So it's kind of a cool story that she's not going to work there anymore, but it's still her voice. She says, "Can I help you with anything else?" You go, "No, all set." She goes, "Okay, cool." It sounds like a human. So there are these quirks that you can add to it that make it a little more palatable.
That's so important to get people to be willing to talk to AI. Like the quirks, also like accuracy. I think latency is an issue too. We've all had that experience where you say something and then there's this really awkward pause before the agent replies. And then you're like, this is clearly AI. I feel like I get that on spam phone calls a lot. Like the occasional spam phone call I'll answer, and then it's like, they actually need to connect me with someone because there was not a human. As soon as you have to wait, you're like skeptical about it.
The funniest is when you get an AI phone call or text, but they think your last name is your first name. So it's like, "Hi, Gustafson." And then it goes into the pitch. You're like, "Gotcha."
So a lot of these AI SDR like voice agents, you want to script out the conversation to kind of tell AI what to say on the call. And I think in the old school days of voice agents, you used to be like, all right, it's like an automated flow. Step one, like confirm they speak English. Step two, XYZ. Step three, XYZ. With AI agents, you actually want to give the agent what's the objective on the call, let it do its own thing as opposed to scripting the call, which is like such a different design principle.
You know who needs that? CVS Pharmacy, because they're still in that deterministic flow.
To me, like these companies that built a deterministic flow, some of them have the most intricate, crazy, complicated flows imaginable. You don't give that to AI. That might even bloat the context and lead to worse results if you try to overly bloat it.
Imagine being CVS and investing like, I don't know, 500 million in this thing that just still sucks. It just still backs you in a corner every time. You're like, "Hey, talk to agent, talk to representative."
So pizza shop is using AI and your realtor is using AI. Are all small businesses going to use this? Like, where's your head with AI on Main Street?
Well, I just want to take a step back. and you can tell me if I'm off my rocker, but like it's all this doom and gloom. AI is going to take jobs. This is the best time in human history to be a small business owner.
Bold claim.
Kyle, if you're working at a company that's thousands of people and you're using AI, right? It's dispersed amongst the org. You're expected to use it in your job. You used to clock in and come to the office for 8 hours. You can now credibly do your work for 5 hours. So there's like, well, what happens to that extra 3 hours? Is it A, you fill that time with additional work, right? So now you're getting the equivalent of 11 hours done in 8 hours, right? That plus 3 hours accrues to the company. Is it B, you get 3 hours back and me and you can go both take our dogs for a walk? So that accrues to me and our dogs. Or is it C, you actually have to work harder and faster and run more scenarios and tests and gobble up tokens to prove the activity-based metrics that they're trying to measure you against and accelerate and hopefully ascend to keep your job and get paid the exact same amount? Do you think those are the 3 scenarios? Am I missing one?
So if you're an owner of the business, any benefit of AI accrues directly to you, which is such a different thing from being the employee. It feels like as an employee, there's no scenario, to your point, where you are the beneficiary of AI.
That's what I wanted to get out of the way, that like being an employee where you are not an owner and any improvements in margin or revenue don't directly accrue to you. Let's just go into the premise of this podcast, Kyle, that we're talking about businesses that are not venture backable.
Well, this reminds me, there was an Economist article this week that basically said in the current environment with AI, one of the most attractive job opportunities out there is actually not starting your own business. It is becoming a franchisee, owning that McDonald's franchise or other franchise where it's like proven brand, proven playbook, not disruptible from AI, but you can be the beneficiary from AI automation. They're basically arguing that this is a really interesting route for a lot of maybe tech workers even who are highly educated, like they've been well paid, but now they want to own their own destiny.
So you're saying this is finally the time for me to run my Dunkin' Donuts empire?
I didn't say Dunkin', I said McDonald's.
But like seriously, if you work at a big company, the question is like, how do we make 10,000 employees 20% more productive? But if you're a Main Street business, my dad owned a physical therapy company growing up. I think your dad owned a used car dealership. Like you get to the point of saying like, how do we make 10 employees feel like 3?
Like looking at my dad's business as an example, it never made sense for them to hire like an office manager or admin. So like they had people that repaired cars and they had the owners. They managed the books, they managed inventory, they like sold the cars when people came in, they called people that were late on their payments. Like they literally did every single job. And thankfully it was like my dad and his brother. And so they could, split off the responsibility. Someone could go, acquire some new cars while the other was in the office, but they could never go on vacation at the same time. And there were all of these tasks that were like really valuable, business owner things that only the owner could do. And then there was calling down 1,000 accounts that were late on their payments, or maybe not 1,000. There's very different levels of work that like some people just really don't want to do. If you have to hire someone and manage like an employee and you're a small business with thin margins, you're just never going to hire people to do that thing. So you either do a shitty job of it or you just put in extra time to do it. And now AI can take that work off your plate.
It's so well said. It's all the stuff that's around the margins of the core thing that the business does. And you either don't feel confident enough to give it to somebody else, or you don't want to pay somebody else to do it, or it's not a big enough task to pay somebody full time, but it's still annoying enough.
Hey, thanks for listening. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Ali and the team at Tabs are building something that directly addresses one of the biggest headaches I see finance teams deal with today. Pulling data from your ERP, your CRM, your FP&A tools, and your usage systems and actually making it all work together. If you're running usage-based pricing or complex contracts, you already know how this usually plays out. Contracts live in one system, usage data lives somewhere else, billing happens in another tool. RevRec gets layered on top at month end, and finance ends up just reconciling everything by hand to close the books. This is exactly the problem Tabs was built to solve. Tabs is an AI-native revenue platform built for controllers and CFOs. It brings together data from your ERP, CRM, and real product usage into a single system of record. From there, it automates billing, collections, and revenue recognition without finance having to duct tape workflows together every month. If
If usage-based revenue is core to your business, this is the future of how billing and RevRec get done. Go check them out at tabs.com/run. That's tabs.com/run.
When I looked to set up my first CRM at Growth Unhinged, I knew I wanted something that was actually AI first. The world has evolved. Most CRMs are still stuck in the 90s. I found Lightfield, the CRM that remembers everything and does the work for you. It joins all my sales calls, reads my emails, and has the full context on every account. At this point, Lightfield knows my deals better than I do. I haven't had to set up a single CRM dashboard. Instead, I simply ask Lightfield questions like, which deals in my pipeline are most likely to close, or who do I need to follow up with today? It even automatically prepares me for meetings with a personalized daily briefing, and setup was quick and surprisingly painless. Lightfield is my sales coach, RevOps analyst, therapist, EA, all in one. See Lightfield for yourself with a 14-day free trial. Connecting data from your inbox takes just 5 minutes, and you can migrate in under an hour. Go to lightfield.app, that's lightfield.app, and use code MOSTLYGROWTH to get 3 months free. When I went all in on my newsletter, Growth Unhinged, last year, I quickly decided it was time to make the switch to beehiiv. I chose beehiiv because they're serious about powering the internet's best newsletters. beehiiv's all-in-one platform brings together newsletters, websites, and every tool you need to grow and earn. And they keep making it better. You can now launch, host, and monetize your podcast entirely on beehiiv. You can host webinars on beehiiv. And you can access beehiiv through the new MCP. I just use beehiiv's MCP in Claude Cowork to audit my site, prioritize SEO fixes, and analyze subscriber trends. It's my newest obsession. If you care about owning your audience, beehiiv is a no-brainer. Try beehiiv for free by going to beehiiv.com. That's beehiiv.com. Use Kyle30 for 30% off your first 3 months. Answering the phone. If you're working with a customer and the phone rings, that's normally a call that's going to voicemail, and then you at some point have to call them back, and maybe you don't get to it for a day or 2 days, and maybe it's someone asking about like this car that they see on the website or something, and by the time you've gotten back to them, they've gone to a different dealership and they bought from someone else, right? And so for a lot of these tasks, there was real ROI in doing them, but you just can't do like a million things at once.
They aren't what the owner got into this business to be doing. I know it sounds trite, like you didn't get into this auto business to be sending out invoices, but like these are the things that they probably don't enjoy and things that maybe they're not even uniquely qualified to do, but just have to do by product of being a small business owner.
I mean, there's just so many of these things, especially in auto business, but really any business. Like if you're a salon owner, you get in for the love of the game.
I tried to break it down into what are the core things. Let's say you have this thing in the middle, right? Whether it's a doctor office, a dentist, a car mechanic. What are the things that every small business has that could be opportunities for AI outside of the main thing? So you can push back on this, but I broke it up into 3 buckets. It's get more customers. So that's sales and marketing. It's support existing customers, which is the front end operation of the whole show. And then it's the back end, which is the money part. So it's bill, collect, and do tax shit.
You're kind of missing like doing the service itself, although maybe that could go into support existing customers. But a lot of times, like these are businesses that have a services component or like an in-person physical component. Normally, that's only a small percentage of the overall time spent, but like that's what's billable. The more time you can spend on the billable thing, the better.
I'm assuming in all these examples, I don't know exactly what the billable thing is and what type of business it is. It's interesting because if you automate that part away, let's say like you're an auditor and you can automate part of that away, you're going to get pressure to have lower fees.
We're assuming, I think for a lot of these local businesses, that is the core thing that you do. That's your bread and butter. That's a thing that you would not automate, if anything. So like if you're a landscaper, I mean, maybe I guess you could use like robot lawnmowers to help do some landscaping, but like that's the last thing that you probably automate. You want to automate everything you can't bill for. It is really challenging for these business owners because like there's often peaks and valleys. Like there's times when they're slammed and like it's busy season, and there are times that they're not, and there's no ability to scale up resourcing. Like you kind of have fixed capacity. There's also just so much waste from if there's 40 hours in a week that you can do something, if only 20 of those 40 hours are billable, it's really hard to like make a good profit.
We rented a bounce house, great customer service, came on time. 2 days, 2 nights, 2 days. It was $1,000 a night. 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 It was $ the steaks were in, so like it didn't fly away or anything. Because of course, my buddy who's come to the cookout right before sends me this like horrible Instagram reel of like one of these bounce houses in the Midwest like blowing away mid party. I have to go up to the guy obviously and be like, "Hey, how does this business work? Like, how many times do you have to rent this out in order to start being in the positive and stuff?" And he's like, "Well, basically, after 10 rentals, we start to make money off of it. We have 15 of these things. It's me and 3 of my high school friends and 1 neighbor. So there's 5 of us involved in the business. It's a pretty like manual intensive process because we have to like physically bring them everywhere." And he's like, the customer service aspect is so important. Like one bad Google review that like really hurts our business. And like we have to over communicate with clients. Like there are all sorts of variables involved. How do they use AI possibly to cut in some extra profits around the edge?
That's the key thing is like once they can get to that minimum threshold, everything above that's profit. You definitely want AI to help get closer to that point as possible. Let's go through. So you have get more customers, support existing customers, and the money and taxes. And maybe let's start with a landscaping company. My cousin actually owns his own landscaping business in Ohio, does pretty well for himself. But if you're trying to get more customers for my cousin, what would you do with AI?
I think there are some really cool ways to take lots of photos of existing customers' lawns and like have that in like a folder or something, and then use ChatGPT or more of a specialized AI to come up with like renderings to give to potential new clients to go above and beyond to be like, oh, look what we could make your yard look like. And also, these are photos that we have that look really great from in like a professional presentation from other yards we've done.
Thinking that a lot of these landscapers are just putting together generic proposals, and the homeowner would be so much more likely to buy and spend more money if they could see what the outcome was going to look like and it looked professional and legit. I'm sure AI could do that, or at least do a decent job. If one landscaper did that and none of the other firms did it, I would be way more likely to go with the one that had the mock-ups.
We're putting in new flooring in part of the house. We had 3 people come. 2 of them got back to us that day. One person waited like 4 days. It's like if you had notes that you could just put in to ChatGPT to create a proposal instantly and automatically send that out. Like I might have went with this third person just on the speed of getting it back to me.
You want to get back that proposal like in less than a day if you can, because if I'm a buyer, I'm so much more likely to buy from the person that submits the proposal either first or second. I like to have at least 2 to like see the comparison, but by the time it's a week later, I've already made a decision. I'm not waiting for your proposal. I'm just assuming that you dropped the ball.
A lot of these landscaping companies, they have repeat clients. So you can send automated invoicing and probably also have like an automated dunning text system with AI to follow up with people who don't pay.
You're skipping ahead, CJ. We're talking about getting more customers.
Sorry, my mind always goes to the money. It always goes to the money.
You're talking about marketing and you immediately start talking about dunning. You're the only one I know that does that. Now, these companies, they're local services businesses. I suspect a lot of them get business from like Google searches of, hey, landscapers in my area, or maybe looking on review sites. Angie's List used to be a thing. I don't know if it's still a thing anymore, but like places like that where you're probably looking to see vetted places in your area that are well reviewed. And so I have to imagine like building out some social content or following up with your happy customers to get them to post reviews, like content and referrals and review generation would be a pretty interesting place for AI because it's pretty routine work, but that can make a big difference between whether you show up as the best landscaper in this zip code or not.
Yeah, and to create hyper local content around it, like I'm making up best landscaping ideas for houses in the Fairfield County area based on the soil and sand quality or something like that. I don't know what the ROI on this is going to be. I'm not a writer by trade, but being able to go super deep on those hyper specific things and also have like the stores near you can buy stuff from and how much does it cost. Like I think that goes a long way.
Building out content so your website becomes a destination for anyone thinking about this. I do think that the AI to do that isn't great yet, but like it's probably going to save a bit of time. Like, and it's going to make it a lot easier to build out this content relative to how it would take if you did it manually. You probably send a proposal, and then for a lot of these companies, they don't really follow up. Email's kind of a bad email, and then to me is wild, like that they don't reach out a couple of days later. Hey, wanted to check in. Do you have any questions on the proposal? Sometimes those follow-ups, if you hit someone at the right time, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't pull the trigger on this." Like, "You seem motivated, you seem eager to do this work. Let's go, let's move forward." To me, that's a lot of low-hanging fruit in the follow-ups.
As a local company, how do you make yourself feel like you're everywhere at once to the customer? That's probably who they end up wanting to do business with at the end of the day.
You got the landscaper more customers. What are we gonna do with AI to support existing customers?
Took my dog to the vet the other day. I was thinking about just like the scheduling alone. I feel like for vets, I don't know why it's vets, not like human doctors. I just feel like it's a horrible experience.
I don't run into that issue. Maybe I have a good vet. It is weird. I don't have the ability to schedule online. I do have to call someone, which I find strange. But then the availability is like randomly really good. Like I could basically always get a next day appointment. Maybe this vet needs to use the AI for sales and marketing.
I mean, there's the appointment scheduling, there's the prescription refill requests that you have to go through, and that's often a pain. The vaccination reminders, and this is also a product of just having multiple kids, you forget this type of stuff. Like, how do you stay on top of it? Because these are all monetizable opportunities too for you to bring your pet back in. Like, A, you want a healthy pet, right? But B, you want them to have every touch point that they can to bring them in, make sure they're healthy, and also make some money off of it.
See, this is where I think that people are like, AI is going to do all these amazing things. I don't think you should use AI for either of these things that you just said. One, because AI is not consistent with the outputs. Like it reasons, which means it's a little bit different each time. B, like the token costs are real. And then C, there are automations that people should be doing that are deterministic and that like cost almost nothing that you should just set up. And so one of the things to me is
Is this where you plug Calendly again?
Calendly could help, but honestly, like any workflow automation tool, a Zapier, an N8N, a Make, it's like, oh, we should have AI do this. It's like, no, we should just have a workflow automation with certain rules that are applied. And that way it's done very consistently on a set schedule. And it's going to be actually way cheaper to run that than to run an AI workflow.
What about the triage and back and forth of like when your dog eats something they shouldn't have or they're coughing in a weird way and you want like a quick answer just to say this is worth coming in or not? Would you use AI for that intake?
That is a good question. I would be hesitant to use AI because that starts to get into providing care, but probably having that voice SDR answer the call and then get all the information and then be able to summarize the information to the vet or whoever is on staff so that they can quickly, jump in. I would say it's like smart routing more than have AI triage the request.
All right, so maybe vets are not a prime candidate for the AI world. I'm trying to now think of other ways to support existing customers that aren't a deterministic function that you could use a link and no tokens for.
There probably are a lot around the admin of like billing insurance and following up on invoices and payments and all of that stuff, eating up a lot of time and maybe being a good use for AI. But on the supporting existing customer side, I'm kind of drawing a blank with the best AI use cases there.
Maybe people are still needed in this world, at least for that part.
Although I will have to say, I had my dog go in for a teeth cleaning at one point, and they were like, "There's some rot in his teeth. We're going to need to do a teeth cleaning. And what we do is we put your dog under, and then, that we might need to take out, a couple of teeth. We'll just do that, live while the dog's out." And so I got a call later. And they go, "We removed 20 of your dog's teeth." He comes home with like no teeth left. It's like, what? You said a couple of teeth. And this is a teeth cleaning. So maybe AI could do a better job of that.
They could have called you and be like, "Hey, are you cool if your dog literally is just Gumby after we ran home?"
All right, let's get to the last step. So we talked about getting more customers, supporting existing customers. What about managing the money and taxes? And maybe we'll pick a different business example this time.
Let's do a Botox clinic because I feel like they're popping up everywhere.
Is there anything you want to admit, CJ?
I want to look like Mick Jagger. I want to look weathered and like I've been through the ringer. Actually, no, he's the one that does use the Botox. He's Keith Richards.
I do agree. These are popping up. A lot of Gen Z seem to be doing preventative Botox, which is really confusing to me. All right, how are you going to help this Botox clinic manage their money?
Well, now you got me questioning myself because you were saying that you should just use like a deterministic zap or reminder or something, but like patient balances that go unpaid. Maybe like you're offering a discount on something so they buy in a higher quality here. I feel like there's low-hanging fruit within a doctor's office, any doctor office, that revolves around getting paid and the customer monetization touch point that just is like, they don't really want to be doing it. They actually don't enjoy those interactions, and there's something to be done.
So we talked about like automations are really helpful for your dog's due for this vaccine or this vaccine's expiring. With Botox, it's a little bit more of an opt-in service. Like there is a schedule you are supposed to get refreshed. I have not done it either, but you're supposed to do it, but it's a little bit more optional. Like it's not something that's like a medical requirement. And so if I'm a Botox clinic, I probably have some email reminders, but then maybe an AI cold calling like service is actually useful too.
Right. That's scalable now.
Yeah, exactly. Because you probably are only getting such a reply rate over email. And you might want to be able to say, hey, these are customers that have been here at least twice. We should call them. And the phone number will show that it's coming from our clinic. Maybe they'll recognize that phone number and they could schedule the appointment live on the call. Hey, you need a new Botox appointment. We'd love to schedule that for you right now. When are you free? That's a better experience to me than like an automated email that you're due to come in.
All right, I know we're on the money part, but I came up with one for supporting existing customers. I had to go to the dermatologist for the first time in like maybe 20 years. And the forms they gave me, like I felt like I was just repeating myself over and over again. And they already had a ton of my info. I don't know why AI can't help with the patient intake forms that are such a pain in the ass. You have to sit in the waiting room and do them.
They're somehow all like writing it on a piece of paper. And then is it someone's job to then put that in a computer
And why do I have to give you my date of birth, 5 different pieces of paper?
like
I don't get it.
18,000 times? It's terrible. I'm trying to think on the money and the taxes side, there's probably some accounting work, right? Like managing, hey, you've got QuickBooks or something, like you've got all these sales, you've got taxes, you've got expenses. There's probably something to go into like automating some of like the expense categorization, like your reporting, just like some of the back office with these businesses.
I would also think the ordering, just knowing, like being able to talk to the front of the house of how many patients you've seen, and then to get ahead on the supply chain, saying, let's order this now. And oh, we can actually opportunistically get these supplies at a good price now. Let's order in bulk. I think you could use AI for that rather than having to do the math in your head.
Yeah, you don't want to run out of Botox if that is your main responsibility. If I reflect on these examples, like there are very real ways that small businesses can use AI. But like what we're talking about is scaling an existing service. It's not like replacing a service. It's business benefits that accrue to the owner so they can make more profit or just work fewer hours and manage busy season better. We talk about AI, it almost feels like we just jump straight to like AGI and like AI is going to take over the world. These are like pretty micro use cases at the end of the day.
They're micro use cases, and the benefit and margin accrues to the owner. And that's why I thought it was powerful. Like we talk about these huge, lofty use cases of AI and B2B software, but like I just think there's so many benefits that are these scenarios that were fuzzy before that like the owner never got into doing business to do them. There's money to be made.
All right. If you think about which business is going to be so much more profitable because of AI than they were before, like if you're starting one of these mainstream businesses, which one's that going to be? Is it going to be Dunkin' or something else?
I think it's going to be Dunkin', and more so I think like anything where you're trying to do a high velocity of orders during like a rush coffee hour, or like a lot of these businesses make the bulk of their revenue around one meal and during one rush. And I think anytime you can increase the velocity of turnover of the meals, the better. Because there have been some, like I was at the airport and you couldn't even order the Dunkin' Donuts from the person. You had to type it in on the screen. Like this is actually creating a backlog because nobody can figure it out. It took me longer. Like, and I feel like I'm pretty savvy with these things. I had to wait for this person 5 minutes to figure out how to order a coffee. Like, how do you speed up these things and save costs, but also make it more efficient, not just save costs?
Actually, I think landscaping is an interesting business because it's one of those things that literally like AI cannot do. You need people to do it, but the ability now with AI to get more customers, to have less overhead on the business, have your team more focused when they're actually like if there's a narrow amount of time when they're going to be busy and it's not raining and like it's not winter and they can work. Like I feel like that kind of business is now much more interesting than it would have been pre-AI and can kind of run on autopilot. So like landscaping, maybe like an HVAC services business, because now with HVAC, like everyone needs heating, everyone needs AC, probably needs AC more than they used to. These services business is to me are the most interesting.
Well, people will have to let us know what you're buying next. If you're buying the pizza shop or the HVAC, I don't know how to make either.
Or you scooping up that local Dunkin' franchise before CJ can get his hands on it.
Mostly Growth is a Mostly Media production. Executive produced by Ben Hillman. That's me. Additional production by Steve Sarasoli. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of CJ, Kyle, and Ben. Just some guys who love talking growth. Mostly. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe and give us 5 stars. It'd only take like 2 seconds and our algorithm overlords love it. Drink water, call your mom, and have a great day.